Do you ever feel like you are being pulled in a million different directions? Your phone buzzes with texts from friends who need advice right now. Your boss adds another urgent task to your already full plate at the end of the day. A family member calls with a request you feel you can't refuse, even though it means giving up your only free evening this week. This constant pull can leave you feeling drained, overwhelmed, and even a little resentful. You want to be there for people. You want to be a good employee, and you want to be a caring family member. But you also need to protect your own energy, your time, and your emotional well-being. It is a delicate balance, and often we forget to factor ourselves into the equation. This feeling of being stretched too thin is a sign. It is your mind and body telling you that something needs to change. It is not selfish to want a moment to breathe. It is not unkind to need time for yourself to rest and recharge. We all have a limited amount of energy to give each day. When we give it all away without saving any for ourselves, we start to run on empty. This is where the idea of boundaries comes into play. They are not about pushing people away. They are about creating a sustainable way to exist in the world and in our relationships, ensuring we have enough of ourselves left to live our own lives fully. Think of your personal energy like a bank account. Every time you say yes to something you don't have the capacity for, you are making a withdrawal. When you constantly overextend yourself, you risk overdrawing your account, leading to burnout, stress, and even illness. You wouldn't let just anyone take money from your bank account without your permission. So why do we so often let others take our precious time and energy without thinking twice? Learning to manage these withdrawals is a critical life skill. It is about recognizing your own limits and honoring them. Protecting your peace is not a luxury. It is a necessity for a healthy and fulfilling life. This isn't about building walls to keep the world out. Instead, it is about installing a gate. You get to decide who and what you let in, and when. By learning to protect your peace, you are not only doing a service to yourself, but also modeling healthy behavior for those around you, creating a ripple effect that can positively impact all your relationships. So what exactly are boundaries? In the simplest terms, boundaries are the limits and rules we set for ourselves within relationships. They are the invisible lines that define what is okay for you and what is not okay. Think of them as your personal instruction manual for how you want to be treated by others. They let people know what you are comfortable with, what your needs are, and where your personal space begins and ends. Boundaries are not demands or ultimatums. They are clear statements about your own needs. For example, a boundary might be, "I'm happy to help you with your project, but I am not available to work on it after 6 p.m. This is not a threat. It is a clear piece of information about your availability. Boundaries exist in all areas of our lives, whether we consciously set them or not. There are physical boundaries, like how close someone can stand to you or whether you are comfortable with hugs. There are emotional boundaries, which protect your feelings and prevent you from taking on the emotional baggage of others. Mental boundaries relate to your thoughts, values, and opinions. You have the right to your own beliefs without being belittled. There are also boundaries around your time and energy, which involve protecting your schedule and energy from being drained by others. Understanding these different types helps you identify where you might need clearer limits. Why are these limits so important? Boundaries are essential for maintaining your self-respect and mental health. When you have clear boundaries, you are telling yourself and the world that your needs are valid. This builds self-esteem and reduces feelings of resentment, anger, and burnout. Healthy boundaries create relationships based on respect, not obligation. They allow for a healthy give and take where both people feel seen and honored. Without them, relationships can become one-sided, with one person constantly giving and the other constantly taking. This imbalance is unsustainable and ultimately damaging. Ultimately, boundaries are an act of self-care and self-love. They are about honoring your own capacity. We all have limits, and there is no shame in that. Acknowledging your limits is a sign of self-awareness and strength, not weakness. When you set a boundary, you are not rejecting someone, you are preserving yourself so that you can show up as your best self. It is about creating a space where you can thrive, not just survive. By defining what is acceptable to you, you create safety and predictability, which allows for deeper, more authentic connections to form. It is common to worry that setting boundaries will come across as controlling. This fear often stops us from speaking up for our needs. However, there is a fundamental difference between setting a healthy boundary and trying to control someone else. A boundary is about you. It is a statement about what you will do, what you need, and what you will tolerate. For example, I feel uncomfortable when you raise your voice at me. If it continues, I will need to leave the room. This statement focuses on your feelings and your actions. You are not telling the other person what they must do. You are telling them what you will do in response to their behavior. It is about managing your own space and safety. Control, on the other hand, is about dictating someone else's behavior, feelings, or choices. It is an attempt to manage the other person, not yourself. A controlling statement might sound like, "You are not allowed to raise your voice at me," or "You have to stop being so angry." These statements try to police the other person's emotions and actions, which is an impossible and unhealthy task. We cannot force others to change. We can only control our own responses and choices. Let's look at a family scenario. A controlling approach might be a parent telling their adult child, "You have to call me every single day." This is a demand placed on the other person. A healthy boundary from the parent's side might sound like, "I would love to hear from you a couple of times a week to know you're okay. That would really help me not to worry." The adult child can then set their own boundary. "Mom, I can't commit to calling every day, but I can definitely call you on Sundays and Wednesdays to catch up." This is a negotiation based on mutual respect for each person's needs and capacity, rather than a one-sided demand. It creates connection without coercion. In the workplace, a controlling manager might say, "You need to be available to answer emails 24/7. This infringes on the employee's personal time. An employee setting a healthy boundary could respond with, "I am fully focused on work during my scheduled hours from 9 to 5. To ensure I am well rested and productive, I will respond to any emails sent after hours the next business morning." This is not a refusal to work. It is a clear statement about when and how they will work. It protects their personal time while still demonstrating commitment. Remember, boundaries are the fences that protect your yard. Control is trying to landscape your neighbor's yard for them. Focus on tending to your own space. Setting a boundary does not have to be a harsh confrontation. It can actually be a calm and kind conversation. The key is to be clear, concise, and respectful. You do not need to over-explain or justify your decision excessively. A long, rambling explanation can sometimes weaken your message and open the door for negotiation where there really shouldn't be any. The goal is to communicate your limits simply and directly while still acknowledging the other person. A good formula to use is to express your position clearly and kindly without placing blame. This approach helps the other person hear your message without immediately becoming defensive, making a positive outcome more likely. A practical first step is to get clear with yourself about what your limit actually is. Before you even have the conversation, just take a moment to identify what you need. What specific behavior is causing a problem? What do you want to happen instead? Once you are clear on your limit, you can plan what you want to say. Using I statements is incredibly powerful. For example, instead of saying, "You always interrupt me," which can sound accusatory, try, "I feel frustrated when I'm not able to finish my thought. I would appreciate it if you could let me finish before you jump in." This frames the issue around your feelings and your needs, which is less confrontational. When you communicate your boundary, try to do it at a calm time, not in the heat of the moment. If a friend constantly asks to borrow money and it makes you uncomfortable, don't wait until they ask again when you're feeling stressed. Find a quiet moment to say something like, "I value our friendship so much, and because of that, I need to be honest. I'm not comfortable lending money anymore. I hope you can understand." Being proactive instead of reactive gives the conversation the best chance of success. It is also important to listen to their response. They may have feelings about your boundary, and it is respectful to hear them out, even if you do not change your mind. Here are a few phrases you can adapt. For a friend who drops by unannounced, "I love seeing you, but my schedule is a bit tight these days. Could you please text or call before you come over? That would help me a lot." For a family member who gives unsolicited advice, "I appreciate that you care about me. Right now, I just need you to listen, not to offer solutions. Can you do that for me?" Remember to be firm but compassionate. Your tone of voice matters just as much as your words. Setting a boundary is an act of respect for yourself and the relationship. It is an invitation for the other person to engage with you in a healthier way. It may feel counterintuitive, but setting boundaries does not push people away. In the long run, it actually brings you closer. When relationships lack boundaries, they are often filled with unspoken resentment and frustration. You might find yourself avoiding a friend or family member because you know they will ask for something you don't want to give, or you might grow distant from a loved one because your interactions with them always leave you feeling drained. This silent distance is far more damaging to a relationship than a clear, honest conversation about your needs. By setting boundaries, you are clearing the air and removing these hidden obstacles to true connection. Think about it. When you are not constantly giving from an empty cup, you have more genuine energy and enthusiasm for the people in your life. When you set a boundary around your time, the time you do choose to spend with others becomes more meaningful and present. You are there because you want to be, not because you feel obligated. This authenticity is a gift to the relationship. People can feel the difference between someone who is engaging with them out of duty and someone who is genuinely happy to be there. Your presence becomes more valuable because it is freely and intentionally given, which strengthens the bond between you. Furthermore, when you model healthy boundaries, you give others permission to do the same. You show your friends, family, and even your children that it is okay to have needs and to voice them respectfully. This creates relationships that are more balanced and reciprocal. When both people feel safe enough to express their limits, the relationship becomes a partnership built on mutual respect. You learn more about each other's needs and how to care for one another in a way that truly works for both of you. This is the foundation of deep, lasting, and healthy connections where both individuals can thrive side by side. Embracing boundaries is a journey, not a destination. It takes practice, and you will not always get it perfect. Sometimes people will react poorly, and that can be difficult. But remember that you are not responsible for their reaction. You are only responsible for communicating your needs kindly and respectfully. Setting boundaries is one of the most profound acts of self-care you can engage in, and it has a beautiful ripple effect. It allows you to show up in the world as a more centered, peaceful, and authentic version of yourself. And that is a gift not only to you, but to everyone lucky enough to be in your life.